Yeah, I want to talk a little bit more about limiting beliefs. You mentioned
Hmm.
limiting beliefs. I love talking about limiting beliefs. First, for those listening live or on the replay who maybe don't know, do you mind talking a little bit about what, in your opinion, a limiting belief is?
For
And
sure.
then what was maybe, one that I mean, we all have several, but one that stands out that you'd like to talk about that you had to turn around?
Totally. So I feel like a limiting belief is something that is there subconsciously and consciously, right? So it generally starts as a subconscious belief. And then as we go through life, we start to realize, oh, wow, maybe I am not treating myself the best, or maybe I am doing these things. And that's why I love the work I do. And I don't mean to keep talking about that, but it's just so connected to what we're talking about. So I'm very passionate about that.
Sure.
But one of the biggest ones for me that, I've done a lot of work, and there's been some that I really have healed, I really believe. But as long as we're on the earth plane, we're continuing to heal, learn, and grow. It's a schoolyard. We're never going to arrive, as I say. So one of my deepest limiting beliefs would be I am worthy. So I have healed a lot of that in terms of that self-love for myself, and like not allowing people to abuse me, setting boundaries, all that. But now I'm at the second phase, and that is bringing abundance into my life in all areas. So up leveling in that and continuing to work on that worthiness is where I'm at today, and what I'm going to continue to do, and serving other people to support them in that just helps my healing that much deeper, which is so beautiful.
It sounds like you've come a long ways.
I hope so. I think so. But again, lots more work to do. But yeah, it's a daily practice. And you get situations that present themselves that help you work through that. But the more you do it, the less you attract it. So that's the beautiful part about it. So I
That's,
do see that progress. So I'm very grateful for that.
I think a lot of women can relate to that. I am worthy, and not feeling worthy for a lot of their younger years, all the way up until adulthood.
Absolutely.
Where do you think that stems from?
I think a lot of it is from childhood, when like for me, one quick example is so when my dad passed away at 7, the whole neighborhood gave us an album of pictures of all the parties and the gatherings and the neighborhood, and lovely pictures of him. And I was 7, so I saw a binder. And back in the 80s, you know what you do with a binder? You turn it into a sticker album. So I took out some of the pictures, and some of the pages I started writing titles like puffies, smellies, stickies, or whatever you wanted to call them, and started putting stickers in this beautiful momentum that they created for my dad. And I remembered a lot of my mom, being very angry in that moment and yelling at me and making me feel awful. And I feel like that in some ways, like, made me feel like what I did wasn't valuable. I wasn't valid in the moment. It also suppressed my creativity for many years, which I realized in my healing. And it's a very significant moment in my life I bring it up a lot. It comes up a lot in my healing. And I'm still talking about it because obviously it stemmed to that I am not worthy, because I did this and ruined everything, and I made a mess of everything, and I felt like crap about it, and everybody told me how wrong I was. So that was it.
Yeah. So interesting. I have a son. He is 18, just
Mhm.
turned 18 in March. And I know you have kids too.
Yes, 17-year-old and 14-year-old, 2 girls.
So how do I dealt with this too, like little things and not wanting to do that or not wanting to suppress.
Right.
And, my son's now 18, and I feel like I did a really good job.
I think you
Um,
did, based on your pictures. You guys look pretty amazing
Thank
together.
you. Thank you. But I was always very careful with exactly that, not wanting to suppress his voice, not wanting to
Yes.
suppress his creativity. But I think there's a fine line between allowing your child to do
Hmm.
and then also disciplining them. I was pretty harsh with I was a single mom.
Mm-hmm.
So, I felt myself that I had to be, fairly harsh in some ways. It's not like I beat them or anything, but, I had very strict boundaries. My no meant no, my yes meant yes, like to
Mm-hmm.
this day.
Mm-hmm.
What is your thoughts on that as far as how does a mother navigate not suppressing creativity,
Yes.
but then still disciplining? Like in your scenario there that you gave, what would have been a better way?
Yeah, so huge topic still comes up for me on a daily. So when I was in the narc relationship, it was harder to do the disciplinarianism because that's how I thought I would be with my children based on how I was brought up. But because I had so much guilt and shame about what was happening in the home, I did less discipline than you did, I would say. So, and I'm still working on that and regretting that. So I really do feel there's that fine line. However, I am so grateful that I allow my children to be who they are. I have one that's highly sensitive. And so she just has to detach and be on her own and get energy breaks from people. And I have learned through the years to just kind of give her that space, not say too much. And, when I was in the relationship, still doing my work, I tried to have more control over everything. And so for me, what I've come to at this stage of my children's lives is every single soul has their own journey. Who am I to control that? They need to experience whatever it is they need to experience. And so I have to trust that I've shared the main important values that I have and morals that they have that underlying value system that is so important. I need to be an example showing them that I follow that, I believe in those values. And if they choose to do other things, I can't be in charge of that. I can't be in control of that because there is a higher purpose to this and they need to learn something from that. And I try to encourage my friends who are moms who have younger kids that, because it's a really challenging thing, particularly when you love your kids so much, they're so young, you just want the best for them. Of course, I'm still working on it to a degree, but I've really let so much go and it's so freeing. And the beautiful part of not having so much discipline and allowing them to be who they truly are is once they have that foundation and you are that example and you do communicate to them like a human instead of do this, do that, they don't want to do the stuff. Like my daughter hasn't had her first kiss. She wants it, but she hasn't had it yet. And she's not a nerd or anything. Like she's a cute girl and it'll happen. But now she shifted her mind when she went into high school. I have to have my first kiss before grade 10. I have to go to a party. I have to drink. I have to do this. And she tried a drink, like she had a little drink one weekend and she did that. And now she doesn't really care about it because she got it out of her system. She tried to do all the things society told her to do and they didn't resonate with her. So she's not being a crazy citizen out there that I'm all worried about. And the fact that I just came to them with that realness and, just meeting them where they're at, they saw challenges, talking to them about this is what happened. If their dad does something or says something, I'm like, I understand why you're disappointed. I used to get disappointed. And unfortunately, that's part of why I had to leave. And so you'll have to figure out what works best for you, but you have to set that boundary, right? And so I'm kind of going a little bit all over the place, but to my point is we can only control things so much. And so just trying to allow them to be who they are and trusting that they're going to be supported on their journey.
Yeah, for sure. You kind of tapped in right there a little bit in the beginning of that as far as talking about your past with your partner and being maybe a little more lenient because you were trying to balance that out.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that your, the main, as far as your coaching goes, revolves a lot around forgiveness.
Yes.
So I kind of want to, put that together. How does what you've been through
Mm-hmm.
and what you teach now,
Mm-hmm.
where'd that come from? How have you forgiven yourself? What should we be looking
For sure.
to forgive ourselves?
So traditional forgiveness, right, is let bygones be bygones. Some people feel like that word just triggers them because they think it means they have to accept what that other person did.
100.
That it's, it was okay, and now I have to say it's okay and be Mother Teresa. That's not the reality. That's why what I teach is called radical forgiveness. So we do start off with the same premise. We come in with the victim. He did this to me. He did that. All the blame, all the stuff we're supposed to not do, because we need to bring it up to the surface and we need to heal it. So then when we do that, we connect with the emotion attached to that. But then we start to shift from that traditional forgiveness into radical forgiveness. And we start to separate what actually happened versus our interpretation based on our previous life experiences. And then we say, oh, wow, he was doing that to me because I was doing that to me. And then after that, we start looking at things very differently, reframing what actually happened, and then turning that around and actually thank you for being this teacher. Now I've identified my limiting beliefs. I see that I wasn't loving myself, so I attracted you. And it's such a beautiful thing. And then you release that and it just gets a sense of freedom. That's why I have freedom in my tagline, because it just gives you a sense of freedom. And like now when I'm triggered in traffic, what is that person teaching me? Like everything is a teacher. And it just, you get the energy. We're human. We have egos. It's all going to come up again, but you just don't stay in that energy as long. And you look at yourself, okay, what do I need to still work on? What limiting belief am I still working through? And so that's how I was able to work through that with him.
Can you give us an example of what actually happened? Like, even if it's a pretend example?
In the marriage?
Like you said, you work through steps.
Yeah.
So first you start with the victim because that's where they're at. You go
Yes.
to connecting to emotion. I think that's what my handwriting says.
Feel the
And
feeling.
then talking about what actually what actually happened.
Right. So it's the radical forgiveness process. It's a worksheet we use. So once we get to that stage about the interpretation, when you start the process, I ask you to come with either a relationship or a situation that you're challenged with at the moment. So it could be as simple as I have a really toxic coworker at work, and every day they come and they're really passive aggressive to me on the lunch hour, and I can't even eat in peace. And they're just like at me and like doing these underlying digs nonstop. And so you look at that story and you're like, okay, what's really happening? Okay, this person is coming in and they're trying to piss me off. Okay, well, what is that saying to me? So what is it about them? Who are they reminding me of? Oh, so some of the examples, when we have a chart where it's examples. So grandfather died. That's just the fact of what happened, but I interpret it as he abandoned me. Right. So that's the difference. If you feel the energy difference in that,
Yeah.
right? And so she's literally just coming to talk to me, but I'm making something up in my head that maybe she is this crazy person, but maybe she is just asking me a question and that's just her style and it doesn't work with my personality. Or she's a beautiful teacher reminding me that I didn't heal what my ex-husband did to me a year ago. So
I love that. I love that, taking the emotion or the feelings out of it.
exactly. Because you've
Wow.
already brought the emotion in on the second stage. And then once you got past that and dealt with those and felt those, now you can start to move through it.
Yes. Yes. I love that. I deal with, not deal with, I work with females who are still in narcissistic
Mm,
relationships and how to navigate through that.
mm,
And one of the issues is getting caught up in your feelings
absolutely.
and how to respond to a narcissist when you're co-parenting or
Yes.
exiting and trying to figure out belongings or whatever, and learning to have a conversation without emotion or passive aggressiveness, just facts.
100%. And
Yeah,
yes, I teach the same thing. It's
I love
so
it.
powerful. They don't respond. They
Yeah,
can't do it. There's no charge there.
yeah,
So I love that you're doing that. That's so powerful.
super powerful. That's awesome.